7 years is quite a long time to be dead as a doornail, and even longer to carry these heavy chains. Odds are, you are familiar with my partner, Ebenezer Scrooge. You know his story. You know about the three spirits and Tiny Tim. But do you know my tale? Do you know my name? Allow me to introduce myself. In life, my name was Jacob Marley. Now, as I said, I've been dead for 7 long and dreary years. Life as a wandering spirit is a bearish task. Lonely, depressing. What they don't tell you on your side is that your unbridled appetites linger with you after you pass through the curtain of death. For some, it is a hunger. For others, it is a desire for alcohol or some other craving. For another, it is a passion unchecked. Whatever the plague, it is the same, for it is unquenchable. A deep yearning that cannot be filled. It never goes away, and it never numbs. I must be clear, however, that this affliction pales in comparison to the real torture that is carried by one in my position. It is the chains. Their weight was forged by my own doing, or rather, my own not doing. Missed opportunities, circumstances with which I might have given of my own portion to help another. Oh, and I had substantial portion, you see. I was a proud and hard-working businessman. I owned a counting house with my partner, Scrooge, complete with a tidy office and a warehouse. My appetite, my fire, was money, and its kindling was greed. At the end of each chain is a cash box, ponderous and bulky, a stark representation of my worldly demons. Each link in the connection is familiar to me, a painful reminder of someone I could have helped. Oh, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't care enough to see. I was, in a word, blind. Trust me when I say, 7 years in purgatory will open one's eyes. Perspective is something that cannot so easily be given. Often, I've now learned, it is earned through discomfort, suffering, and pain. I will share with you one such instance on a cold winter evening, the day before my 7th Christmas as a wanderer. Dragging my chains through the dark street, I stopped near an alley that I thought to be empty. I wished to rest, another desire that was never satisfied to one in my circumstance. I found a wooden plank on which I could sit, moaning as I hefted my chains nearer me. It was then that I heard the scuffling. I turned my neck, which cracked and popped with a ghostly twist, to witness a girl, no more than 15. She was exiting a pile of what I will call garbage with a wooden stick, likely a left scrap of some discarded piece of furniture. She carried her finding to a metal barrel and added it to a pile. It was a scene I had observed more than once in my days as a wanderer. The temperature was below freezing. There would not be so many explanations for her actions. She was cold. She desired a fire to warm her near frostbitten appendages. Humans are simple creatures sometimes, I think. I then watched the young girl. She could not see me, of course, and I could hardly see her, skinny as she was. If she were to resemble anything, it would have been a coat rack with an old and tattered wool sheath wrapped around it. The girl rummaged for a time in her pockets, searching for something. Finally, she pulled free a matchbox. As she opened the cardboard flap, I noticed that she was down to her last match. The girl had large round eyes and hair that might have been blonde if it had not been laced with soot. Her big eyes stared at the match. It was as if she were staring at her last chance, her final hope. She then readied her woodpile, crushing an old newspaper as a starter for the flame. Knowing she was down to her last match, she took great care with the preparation. Then, with a final glance and a pause, she struck the head of the match against the rough and scratchy surface. No fire came. She made another attempt, harder, swifter, not even a spark. Again and again, more desperate with each strike. But it was of no use. The reality was obvious. The match was a dud. It would not light. Tears fell from the girl's eyes. I lowered my own head and felt my hollow stomach turn. Then a desire, an honest and pure longing. I wished to help the girl. Yet I knew there was nothing I could do. I could have no interaction with the living. I'd tried many times before. I spent the first few years wallowing in my self-pity and misery. But as time went on, my thoughts began to transform. My affliction began to change me. I glanced down at my chain. One link in particular stood out, like a scar, ancient, yet at the same time, still fresh. I knew the link. I knew the memory. A scene flashed through my mind, a reflection of the past returning, haunting me. I saw it, clear as glass. An alley, not unlike the one in front of me. Another cold night. 10 years previous. Yes, I knew the scene. A late night at the office. Scrooge and I had just completed our quarterly ledger count, and were off to grab a tardy dinner. In celebration, my partner handed me a cigar. I took it and placed it between my lips. He did the same with his own, and I pulled a matchbook from my pocket. A full matchbook. With a single stroke, I lit each of our celebratory prizes. I slid the matchbook into my right side pocket. We walked the street, our busy feet carrying us toward a well-deserved supper. Along the way, we were stopped by a man, poor and homeless. He came from the alley in the vision, his hand out. "Please, sir, do you have any spare change?" the man asked with a hoarse voice. "Bah, humbug!" my partner scoffed dismissively. I offered not even a glance, keeping on my path. In my thoughts, I was disturbed to find that I was irritated that the man would dare breathe the air near us, for his exhales were likely filled with a diseased poison. Humbug, indeed. The man continued begging. "Anything at all, sirs, please." We pressed onward, ignoring his petition. Yes, I remembered the scene. Or did I? For then the man asked a final question, one that I had forgotten entirely. "Sir, if not change, could you at least spare a match?" A match. The man had asked for a match. How could I have forgotten? The plea was like a dagger to my ghostly heart. There I was, with a lit cigar dangling from my lips, obviously in possession of a match. And yet I did nothing. The vision faded, and as it did, I found myself reaching into my right side pocket, hoping to find the matchbook. My fingers scrambled, desperate, hopeless. There was nothing there. How could there be? It was a vision of a decade in the past, and I was an apparitional wanderer now anyway. I was left with my pain, my chain, and no peace. I watched the thin girl crawl back into the shelter of rubbish and disappear from my sight. I sat there for a few minutes longer, the ever-present urge to roam and drift clawing at my empty soul. Suddenly, I heard a voice from above where I sat. "You'd like to help her, wouldn't you?" The voice was strong, yet soothing, and when it spoke, I felt a sense of familiarity, though I was quite sure I'd never heard it before. I looked up from my chains, expecting to see someone floating in the air. I was thus taken with surprise when my eyes laid sight on the man, if he was a man at all. I would best describe him as gigantic and jolly. On his face he wore a traditional beard, and was draped in a green robe, open near his neck. Upon his red hair I saw a crown woven of what appeared to be mistletoe. He had a unique glow, vibrant and youthful. In my days as a wanderer, I had encountered a multitude of other spirits, but never, ever had I seen the likes of one like him. "Who are you?" I asked, my jaw dropping lower than a living person could endure. "I am one of many, and I have been waiting my turn for some 1843 years. But my time has finally come, and use it well I must. Tomorrow is my day of work, and I am allowed but a single day of preparation." I blinked, unsure how to respond to such a statement. The jolly spirit's eyes, warm and inviting, then turned from me to the barrel, which remained unlit. "You wish to help her, do you not?" he asked. After a quick pause, I nodded my head and answered, "Yes, spirit, with all that I have, I wish to help her." He hummed, considering my words, as if a tally was being made, added and subtracted somewhere in his glowing head. "That is why I've come to see you, Jacob Marley. It seems our timelines have crossed paths. I have an offer for you. These 7 years have worked their toll on your soul, or what was left of it. Tell me, Jacob, how do you feel about those chains?" "They tax me, spirit, yet I know they are part of me. They are no one's fault but my own, and I have accepted that I shall carry them for all eternity." The spirit nodded, his face rather serious. I was inclined to think that his face was not accustomed to such a humorless demeanor. "I see. It seems the chains have done their job. Sometimes a person must be broken down sufficiently before they can be built up correctly." Baffled by his words and his appearance, I lifted my head again. "Spirit, you come to me with a purpose. I would very much like to know what it is." With a bob of the head, his smile returned. "Jacob Marley, I am here because the time has finally arrived for you to amend your wrongs. We believe you are ready." "We? I see no one else here." "There are others, 2 others in specific, and you shall meet them soon enough." "Amend my wrongs? I am afraid that I have too many. I am a cause beyond salvation." The spirit huffed and shook his head. "You have many, yes, but never too many. There is no such thing. No one is beyond salvation. Tell me, Jacob, if I were to allow you to speak to a single living person in an effort to help humanity, who would you select?" This was indeed a question I had never honestly considered, having totally resigned myself to the notion of passing my days as a wanderer. My eyes shifted and rested on the shelter in the alley. "Tonight, I wish I could help this young girl. I am worried that she will freeze." The spirit nodded. "Noble Jacob, but let me speak further on my riddle. You must choose someone who you knew in life, and as you know, this girl never did make your acquaintance. Anyway, this girl would have little to gain from you. She has already secured her place on the other side. No, Jacob, think harder. Of the people you knew, who could most benefit from your visit? Someone who you knew, or really, someone who truly knew you." I did as the spirit requested, and considered his question. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the name came to my mind. "My old partner. Yes. His heart is at least as cold as mine, his eyes just as blind. and he has means, the substance to help others, many others. Yes, Spirit, this is my answer. I would visit Ebenezer Scrooge. At my words, his jolly smile deepened. Do you believe he would heed your admonition? I frowned. This I cannot answer. It took me near these 7 years to reach such a place, and I fear that old Ebenezer has only sunk deeper into his rotten ways since my passing. I've seen him, passing from the office to his home. His life is now only a fraction brighter than my own, if it is at all. He carries his chains, though they are not so visible. It is a sad thing indeed when someone on this side feels pity for someone still living. The spirit nodded. That is why I will help you, along with my 2 friends. Ready yourself, Jacob, for tonight shall be the night of the visit. Now then, come with me. We have much to discuss and plan, and you must meet the others. Rising from the coarse wooden plank, a slight hesitation struck me as I risked a glance at the unlit barrel. Sensing my apprehension, the spirit spoke without turning. Come, come, she will be fine. I will see to it, Jacob. Following the jolly fellow, I was greeted by a sensation long absent from my beleaguered existence. A feeling that had slipped my grasp as a wanderer. This profound emotion began to ease the weight of my burdens, rendering my chains less oppressive and my torments more tolerable. Within my chest it built and swelled, propelling me forward, urging me to follow the smiling spirit that beckoned. In that transcendent moment, I knew it. I knew the feeling. It finally became clear. It was the miracle of hope. Thank you for listening to this production from Griff's Library. A special shout out to Mr. Charles Dickens for leaving enough room in his story for this little tale of Jacob Marley. Merry Christmas.